What is going on, Cyberfam? I'm back at it again, reading another comment, awesome comment from the comment section. Now, before we get started, hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. I know my weekend's been crazy messed up, so that's why I look all like haggard, but you know, excuse the look. Outside of that, let's get back into this in full force. Okay, so this comment is actually by deemahdee. I hope I'm saying your name right. But so they basically asked, given your experience in the industry and your depth and analysis of Palantir offerings, do you see that this company has an actual moat or a durable competitive advantage? I couldn't tell how you felt based on your commentary. Is Palantir a nice to have or a true game changer for organization in your assessment? I think part of the value comes from the ecosystem part of Palantir, where it can replace or augment the entire software stack as opposed to a single component. I think management believes that Palantir is better, cheaper, faster, and more powerful, and undifferentiated to competitors. In this case, it's extremely bullish with the bull icon. That's awesome. If it's an overstatement, then I'd be skeptical of what is so special about Palantir. Thanks for the content. Looking forward to. All right, okay. So this is an awesome comment. I love talking to you guys in the comment section. So, you know, if you feel like asking me questions, let me know. Now, before I get into this, I know I caveat this in every episode, but I guess I'm trying to do it for people that are jumping in on different episodes, right? But guys, like, I don't work at Palantir, right? Just to be very certain here. And two, the reason why I try to be, you know, neither here nor there in my commentary is because, again, I'm not trying to give you investment advice, right? And I'm trying to be very honest with you. So if I'm sounding like I'm neither here nor there, because that's where I actually am. So all in all, not investment advice. You got to do your own diligence. I'm not going to sit there and say, guys, buy, right? I'm not the type to have thumbnails to be like, buy now, 5 things to do right now. You know, like, I don't do that stuff because it's actually kind of intuitive. It's a little fake and disingenuous. Okay, so let's start off with that right there. Secondly, let's work backwards on this thing. Okay, so like he mentions, better, cheaper, faster, more powerful, and undifferentiated to competitors. Is that the case? Okay, yes, that is the case. The thing is, you guys have to understand something. In the software world, it's not just black or white. Okay, there's a lot of gray. It's actually mostly gray. Okay, but unfortunately, the rest of the world thinks of it as black and white. Like, you think that, like, you know, Amazon Web Services is the best cloud provider. It's not, right? There's a lot of gray. It depends on what you're doing, right? Stuff like that. Unfortunately, for the business crowd, they have to translate that to something that's black and white, and that's why you get people that are like very buzzwordy, right? They come at you like, Palantir is going to do blah blah blah. It's not that easy to pick this company out. That's why it's a little tricky. That's probably why the stock price is going up and down depending on the day. You know, it's just shaking out people that are not kind of conviction holders, right? I mean, I'll be honest with you. If I had a lot of money right now, I'd buy, right? But I got tax reasons and I can't buy right now. So anyway, but the thing is, it is going to be better, cheaper, faster, stronger. It's already cheap. Like, that's one of the concerns that I addressed in one of my other videos, right? Like, I think they're offering it way too cheap. For something that they don't have competition for, it's very cheap. Okay, like, they're setting the price, and in a way it's good because, like, competitors will have to set the same price, and Palantir builds everything. And this is another point to this point right here. They build everything in-house, right? They don't hire an external team of consultants or anything like that. They hire people full-time, and I mean, for the most part, I'm sure they have consultants, but they hire people full-time, most likely, hence the stock-based compensation issue. And they basically just churn everything out in-house, which is very cheap, also very hard, and very hard to maintain. That's why it's hard, okay? So that's why it's better, cheaper. Now, faster, from what I can recall, and from what I can understand, Palantir is using, like, pure Silicon Valley tech, and a lot of Silicon Valley stuff, you guys, like, there's levels of code, okay? So, like, I don't want to get too in the weeds on this, but there's levels of code. There are certain code that writes at a very low level, and when I mean low level, I'm talking about to the actual where the execution happens. So you got to keep in mind, code is basically translating, like, English, like common English and numbers and letters, into machine code, right? That's all code is. That's all, like all these languages, Java, C#, Python, all this stuff. That's what they do, right? Now, the lower to that you are, like there's basically layers in between where you write the code and where it actually executes, where it does like some sort of like parsing and translating and then moves it down the stream. Okay, so when they say low level code, it's like basically the lowest level of writing before it gets to that translation to machine code, so the machine can execute what you're asking it to do. A lot of Silicon Valley companies excel in this stuff. They're pioneering this. Actually, they started to move away from things like object oriented or it all depends on what you're doing, of course, but they're moving away from things that are a little more high level and moving to things that are super low level. Now, this is a very high like technical feat, right? It's actually quite difficult to write low level code and actually do it properly. There's not very too many IDEs that help you write code, and there's not as many guardrails, right? It's getting better now, but that's what they're doing. So because they're doing that kind of coding, it's 100% going to be way more efficient and faster. Way faster and more efficient. And by efficiency, I'm talking about package sizing. So when they write these codes, it's usually a smaller package size than something that's more enterprise, which is like kind of like fluffy, right? A lot of like fluff is coded into it. So let's get that out of the way. What was the next point? I think part of the value comes from ecosystem or Palantir can replace or augment the entire software stack as opposed to the single component. Okay, software stack is not what you think it is. Okay, software stack is like literally for most companies like 60 all the way to 100% of their operations. Is Palantir going to replace all of that? I don't know, but I'm willing to bet it's not, right? So when people like YouTubers and when you know, even the business fluffy people talk about replacing the entire software stack, they're actually not talking about the software stack, but they're talking about the operation stack. So they're talking about stuff like, okay, in this hyperauto thing specifically, right? They're doing something that's very similar to like SAP, right? For example, so what they would do is, what happens is in any organization, when you have an ERP system or an ETL system, there's actually multiple other systems that write code or that has some sort of automation process that then feeds into these larger systems, okay? Using APIs and other sort of entry points, okay? Basically, like that was one thing I did where there was basically like 3 different departments that had some data. I wrote some code to basically, I wrote some code to massage that, and then essentially like you know, pipe some stuff into there with APIs, for example. My kid decided to come and make an entry. All right, it's tough for me to get serious on this, so let me just put this kid back upstairs. All right. All right, sorry guys. Right, so that kind of stack is what they're talking about typically. Usually with something like this, it provides some kind of like an all-in-one solution where you don't have to take, you know, or hire multiple teams or even just have multiple automation software to push stuff in. You have something where it has like a discovery phase. It picks out everything that you need to have. It does the whole, like, you know, the wheelhouse, and then once that's done, you sort of automate whatever is left from there. Basically, that's typically how these things go. But that's really where they're addressing here. Okay. All right. What's the next point here? I couldn't tell based on your commentary. Okay, so I addressed that part. Do you see this company having an actual moat? Oh my god, this is a big one. Or a durable competitive advantage. Okay. This is a big one. Right. So for an actual moat, yeah, I do. I think Palantir actually has a pretty big moat, actually. I know sometimes it doesn't sound like it. Sorry, I'm like feeding my dog. My dog likes biscuits. I don't know. It's so weird, man. But anyway, I know it doesn't sound like it sometimes, but they do have a moat. They have quite a large moat. And the moat that they do have, actually, from what I can tell, and of course, guys, like, I don't work here, right? So this is just stuff that I'm using, the stuff that I can see for my information, right? This is how I invest in this company. So please take that with whatever pinch of salt or mountain of salt if you want. But I think their mode isn't what you guys or what most people think it is. Everyone's always like, whenever I see Palantir videos, they're always like, oh, they have no competitors because of they're gonna just take over the entire world software. No, that's what Alex Karp says, right? You can't just take that, spin it up, and then serve it into something else. That's like, you got to look into it a little deeper, right? And the thing is, it's not, the moat that they have isn't that they're going to just decimate everybody, because in software that happens pretty fast. If that's actually that good, then like basically as soon as they penetrate one or two industries, it's just going to cascade into the next. Okay, the thing is, Palantir is really at their very early growth. Okay, don't get it twisted. Just from what I can see, their government side of it is very robust, but their commercial side of it is very nascent. Okay, so don't get this twisted, guys. Like, this isn't, we're not talking about a huge mature company where people just have to like basically buy the software or something, right? You're still talking about maybe a really early stage company that is really only backed and foundationally sound because of their government side. Do you understand what I'm saying? So like, the side that's actually gonna make us more money as investors is not the side that is currently mature. Okay, they're using their experience from their mature side of it to build platforms for on the non-mature side of it. So you get what you get, right? But the moat is actually kind of similar. Now, here's where it draws a line for me. Okay, and I when I responded to deemahdee, I alluded to this as well. But there's a few things. Okay, I'm comparing this to two companies. Okay, so it's either the moat is anywhere between like a Slack kind of moat or a Tesla kind of moat. I'm thinking the real answer is probably somewhere in between. The truth is, and this comment was based from the part 2 of the HyperAuto demo. HyperAuto to me is not blowing my socks off. Okay, they basically took an existing problem in the industry and just put it into one offering, which is great. Actually, that's a fantastic way to build a good business, right? But is it like something that's so revolutionary? No, it's just that other companies kind of like, that's not their main line of business, so they don't do it, right? In my opinion. I think if Microsoft really wanted to, they can write HyperAuto in like a week or maybe like, in like a month or something, right? But the thing is, the way they've done, like HyperAuto, right, is just a front. Okay, that's what it's hard to understand, I think, for some folks. A lot of the offerings that Palantir offers and a lot of the analysis, the technical analysis I'm providing for these offerings, you got to understand, guys, this is the front. They're only showing you what they want you to see, right? This is the front end of everything. We don't know how things are working in the back. Now, if HyperAuto as a front and all these other things as a front have a back end of properly curated machine learning algorithms that basically train themselves and do all sorts of like, categorizing and all this stuff, if that's really the value of what's happening currently in Palantir, the moat is more like Tesla, which means that yes, everything is software. In a software-driven world, everyone has similar stuff, but how they operate, the efficiencies, the like the speed, the cost, all the stuff, and still the margins of how they would be able to achieve, that stuff is going to be unheard of if it's that. Right? Because they build everything in-house, right? They build everything in-house. Most of the stuff that happens from a very core engineering principle. So like first principles, for example, right? So it's a very good company in that sense. Now the moat, we won't know about it yet because in my opinion, it's a platform company, right? So platform companies will never expose that because anyone can try and do that, right? But what I think is going on, if I'm right, is basically they're exposing the front end to you, and it could be a very easy problem, right? By which case it's probably going to compete with a lot of existing vendors. But what's happening is they have 1 or 2 or 3 things that are much better than them for a lot cheaper. So for a lot of these project managers, they'll say, damn, that's like actually cheaper than what we're paying for. And what we're paying for has less overall features. For sure, we're going to pick that. And then once they pick it, it's going to be like a totally different world. It's going to help them out do everything. The company that actually purchases Palantir or as a vendor will start saving lots of money, and it's going to cascade into more things in the future. So that'll build. But on top of that, Palantir on this side will have crazy amount of like, operations level data, which they can, if they have the right like automation on their side and the machine learning and sort of like algorithm of their side, they would be able to optimize that and add to more offerings. You guys understand what I'm saying? It's almost like a snowball effect, right? So I think that's where it is, because I mean, if it's not there, then there's no point of doing any of these softwares. To be honest with you, there's no point. Like, you might as well, you're the best you'll ever be is the size of SAP, and SAP kind of sucks, to be honest with you, right? Or even like ServiceNow, which is, in my opinion, a totally garbage product. But so, you know, Palantir is not doing this for that, okay? So I know that just from what I'm seeing. Like, there's not that kind of UI and that kind of level of integrations if they didn't have anything to further follow up with. Because if that's the case, then you might as well just fire all of your software staff and keep a staff to just maintain it. You guys see what I'm saying here? Like, why would they be growing, right? Why would they be hiring? Why would they be hiring sales teams and all this stuff? So you guys got to take these things into consideration. So in terms of moat, that's what I think, right? Now, the truth is probably going to be somewhere in the middle, in which case, so by Slack moat, I'm talking about stuff like when Slack first came out, right? It was so revolutionary, and I remember this very clearly because I was one of the first people in my company to adopt Slack as a platform. And the things that Slack did, not to get too into the weeds about this, but just want to give you guys some context. The things that Slack did is they took the entire process, the developer process side of it. Slack is great. If you're in a company and you're using Slack, trust me when I tell you, if you're not in the tech side of it, you're not using it to its full potential, okay? But what Slack did was they took like a very boring platform, which is chat, right? And they turned it into a platform. So they basically went saying, okay, you know, if you have a developer process, something like Jira or some kind of like, pipelines and all these other things, right? They have these things called webhooks that basically tie into the platform, like into Slack, and it'll update people accordingly. That's amazing. That we didn't have that kind of stuff before, right? And if we did, developers had to write that stuff from scratch, like from basically from total scratch. At least from a chat perspective. Now, Microsoft already had Teams at the time, but it was kind of crappy. I remember because I used to use it for meetings. And they basically, within like a few years, I remember because Slack, Microsoft wrote a message, say, like a big public, email saying we're going to compete with Slack. And Slack was like, yeah, bring it on. Thank you for giving us validation kind of thing, right? But within a few years, Microsoft was able to compete with Slack. And now Microsoft Teams is a very, very, very solid product, man. It's very good. Like, there's not a place that I've worked at that does not either use Slack or Teams or only Teams. So, that's what I'm saying. So I feel like if that is like a Slack kind of mode, then there'll be maybe 7 or 8 years until like another company maybe acquires the public part of it or something. I don't know. I'm just saying, right? But I think Palantir's moat, their underlying moat between both the Slack type and Tesla type, is the fact that they're an innovative ground up company. They don't hire vendors. They do everything in-house, which means any software they write is pretty much 100% more efficient than it would have been. Okay, so take for that what you will. I personally think it's not Tesla level, but it's somewhere in between, more closer to the Tesla side of it, because they're only showing you the front end stuff, guys, and we're super early. So if this is a company that's building a platform from ground up with low level code, you better believe that their stuff is going to be super efficient, super fast, probably much better from a very fundamental basic level than any other vendor that you're going to get. The problem is, how much further are they going to go from that, right? I think it's a platform company, which means there's going to be tons of new offerings we won't even know what the hell to do with, right? But that's my opinion. What are you guys' opinions? I don't know. You tell me. Feel free to chat in the comments below. That's pretty much it. I mean, again, I'm super bullish on Palantir, but I'm just very honest with you guys, right? I want to make it very clear what my perspective and what I take a look at when I take a look at something. I want you guys to know what that is. Uncut, totally. So anyway, that's what I got. You guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Any more awesome questions like this, I'm going to make a quick video on it. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. I'll catch y'all later. Catch you in the next one. Peace.